All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to be talking with Solver today. We are having the presentation by Michelle Nelson, which is pretty exciting. I know we want to get started right away. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping here. First of all, we do record this and all of our webinars. So if you want to see it later, if you want to show it to somebody else in your organization, the recording will be up on our website by this afternoon, and that's innovia.com. And if you have any questions, type them into that question box. We will get them called out and answered for you. So without any further ado, Michelle, I will hand it right over to you.
All right, thank you, Abby, and welcome everyone. This is the BI360 Business Intelligence Suite. We're going to discuss today the live ERP budgeting for NAV. My name is Michelle Nelson. I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer at Solver. So let's get started here. So again, we're going to cover, a little bit about the company, our product overview. We're going to show you the demonstration. We'll summarize that up, and then we'll answer any questions at the end. So Solver's been around for a good 15 years. We are an award-winning global provider of core performance management software. We've got 1,600 customers in over 40 countries, and we're definitely a fast-growing company. We've had some awards from Gartner's Magic Quadrant, lots of different awards over the years. So what is BI360? Well, it leverages your existing Excel knowledge in combination with a modern web portal. It also centralizes and streamlines your budgeting, reporting, and analysis into a single solution. It eliminates the need to ask IT for that assistance to manage your BI solution. So what are the pain points? The lack of insight into the overall business performance. We make financial reports, we do this, but we need to see a whole picture. So that's what BI360 solves. It's a manual processes that we do in Excel with poor data integrity. And then, of course, the difficulty of integrating disparate data sources and tools. So what empowers managers to look for solutions like this? Well, it's really less time spending on those manual tasks, more time for analysis and execution. So before BI360, we've spent a lot of time making these reports. Now after, BI360, we got more time to analyze them. So the BI360 product module suite comes in 4 modules. We'll be talking about 3 of them today for the most part. We've got the reporting module. That's where everything really begins. A report designer that is built for it in Excel. We've got ad hoc reporting. We've got the execution and distribution, whether that's Excel, web, or even a mobile app. You can even do emails. Then we've got the planning module, which is really just an extension of the reporting module where we can build those input forms for our budgets, our forecasting, our modeling. We can set up workflows for our budgeters. Then we've got the web portal, which is really our dashboards, and that's where you can get into that really analytic stuff, creating those KPIs, very customizable. Now, you can always grow into these modules, but we have the consolidation warehouse. So if you want to bring in disparate data from outside sources to do one kind of reporting from one tool, we can do that. We can take in any data you want into the data warehouse, and it could be a multi-source for your consolidations. And then you've got the same tools you have for your live ERP budget and reporting. Here's a little sample of some of our customers by industry. We're very agnostic, so you can see we cover all industries. We're not in a particular vertical. So let's talk about live ERP budgeting. So we've got that live connection directly to your ERP out of the box. So that's that NAV live connection. Now that's going to be for both reporting and budgeting. We've got that write back capability directly to the budget table in NAV. Then we also can create line item details and comments, and they can be entered below the general ledger account. Workflow provides for multiple approval workflow. You can access the budget, via the web portal. And then it's very template driven. So this particular package is very, 3 to 5 day estimated implementation time. That includes installation, configuration, and training. So what does it look like? Let's take a look at what we're talking about. So we've got the NAV ERP down here. We've got the direct live reporting, which allows you to do both reporting at the general ledger and subledger. You got the drill down capability. We talk about the budgeting. Now that's that live write back to your budget table. Now that is only going to be your general ledger table, but you can also create line item details. Then we've got, again, the dashboards. That, again, is your live connection to NAV, where you can do also GL and subledger dashboards, as well as drilling down. So the only limit is really the GL budget table. Now, we do have another solution. We just want to show you that you can expand beyond the GL budgeting by using our data warehouse. And that's why we're going to talk mainly about the ERP live budgeting, but we will mention that you can always grow beyond that, which gives you more complex budgeting. You can also schedule your data from the ERP into the data warehouse to do the budget versus actuals. Then you've got, a little more, information if you're bringing outside sources. But the concept is the same for either one. And it just looks a little different in the sense that you're going through the warehouse for your budgeting side of things as well as any outside sources, but you still have the live reporting and dashboards from your ERP. So let's go ahead and let's demo this product. So here we are at the BI360 portal demo. This is where you're going to log in to your tool here, and this can be used for a single sign-on capability. So your users can be tied to your Active Directory. Once I log into the portal, I'll be able to access all my reports, all my dashboards, all my budget forms in one place. You can build categories over here on the left-hand side, which can be filtered out based on the user that I am. You've got different view modes, and you've got a search engine to look for your particular reports as well. So if we go in, let's take a look at what an input form looks like. We'll look at the GL forecast input form. So this, again, built within Excel and published up to the web. Here in this particular profit and loss forecast, we are seeing our actual data, and you can see all the parameters up here. So my last actual period, my current forecast year, and then the department in which I'm budgeting against. Now, as I previously mentioned, the user controls are tied to the data. So you may want to filter out your users based on the data you want them to see. So if I'm in a particular department, whether it's administration, production, or sales, maybe I only have access to the sales budget form, forecast form. I'm only going to see that data that I'm able to budget against. So the nice thing is you create one form, and then you basically filter out the data based on the users. So again, I've got my actuals all the way to September. And now I'm going to go ahead and we have this forecast form. And all I have to do is just enter in data, right? Just enter in the data into the form. And we've highlighted them yellow for easier access understanding of those where you enter in your data. Then we've got this Store Data button. I click this Data button, and that's saving that data directly back to the NAV budget table. So now I can continue to budget, and all that information is already saved back into the system. So I can continue to budget this entire form, and it's a very large form, as you can see. And then if you have any type of workflow that you want to set up, you will have an additional button here, and it's a little check mark, that you would submit your button. Submit your budget to be completed. So if we look at what a workflow looks like, this is just a screenshot of what an administrator would see. But basically what you can do is you can set up your budgeters to have a workflow, and it could be multiple approval. So over here on the left-hand side, you've got the users. Over the top, you've got the different input budget forms, whether that's your forecast, your budget, your modeling. And then you can see the status of each user. So whether they don't have access and it's hidden from them, whether it's in for approval and they've hit that submission button, whether it's closed or hasn't even begun. So you've got a lot of control into the budgeter's process here. Now, once they submit that budget using that check mark, that would freeze the budget in time. They cannot go back and make additional edits, unless, of course, the approver goes in and reopens that budget for them. Now, you can also set up a timeline. So if you want everyone to submit their budget by the end of quarter, then once that timeline has passed, then it would also freeze the budget in time. So you can kind of require your budgeters to submit their budgets on a particular time frame. So that's what the workflow would look like. Now let's look at a different budget input form here. Again, I've got the different parameters at the top. Now you can have, multiple budget versions, and that's all dependent upon, of course, the NAV ERP system. So as many budget versions as it allows, you can have. So you can see I'm budgeting yearly, but maybe you budget biannually. And then, of course, I've got my department, again, the different parameters. So I've got my budget and my forecast in here as well. So if we look at this particular form, you can see my budget for the year is in front, and then I've got my actuals over here to the left with, of course, the forecasting that came from that previous form. So if I go back, again, I can just type in, or I can right-click and I can use a spreading tool. So I can see there's all different types of spreading methods here. So whether it's custom, you can create your own. Maybe historical, whether that's coming from an actuals or maybe a previous budget version. Even distribution, quarters, seasonal. So I could just take an even number and I can apply it to the entire row. It's going to evenly distribute that. Well, maybe I want to add in 5%. So now I got the ability to do that as well and bring that entire row right back into my form. Now the other thing you can do is create line item details. Let's take a different row here. So if I right click, instead of spreading, maybe I just want to add in line item details. So I can just type in the line item here. And then it's just going to, of course, just roll up that number for the line. So if we add in a line item 2, again, just rolling up those numbers. Now the other thing you can do in this particular screen is add in comments. So if I want to comment out any number on the screen, I click this little triangle in the corner. And
Michelle, I just want to stop you real quick. I don't think your screen is, we're not viewing your live screen. We see a slide.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You see it now?
1 second, we're still catching up here. There we go.
Okay. Let me back up then real quick because I want to show you what I've been showing you. All right, apology. Here we go. So this is the last thing you saw was the slide. Is that correct? So let's start from the beginning here real quick. So this is what the portal looks like. This is where you're going to log in. And I know you guys heard me talk about logging in. So we'll just kind of show you real quick what it looks like. So again, logging in using your user controls, have the different views, whether it's, carousel, squares, or anything, and then going into the input forms. And that's kind of what I was showing you while I was not showing you my screen. But here is the actuals. Here's the parameters I was talking about. Again, based on who I am, I'm going to only see the data I'm supposed to see. Then it's just a matter of typing in the data and saving that data back directly to that budget table. So there's that store data button that I mentioned. And then again, we've got that check mark I was talking about for the workflow if they want to submit their budget. So if we look at the workflow example, this is what it looks like. This is what I was talking about when you couldn't see my screen again. But here's the users down the left, the different input forms at the top, and then being able to see the status of each, whether they're hidden for approval. And then I mentioned, you can submit it or you can hit a timeline. So that's kind of giving you an idea what that looks like. So then we were in this particular form, and this is where I'll start kind of from scratch here. So again, you've got the different parameters at the top, as I mentioned, unlimited versions based on NAV, and then again, just inputting that data right there. And then what I did was I was right-clicking, and I was showing you the spreading tool. This is what the spreading tool looks like. So here's the drop-down for the different types of methods you can use, whether you create your own custom one, you do an even distribution. So I can just take a number, apply it across the entire line, and then here's where I increased it by 5% and brought it right back into the form. Now the next thing, I think that's where we kind of got stuck here, is I was showing you line item details. So if I wanted to create line item details, there's this little add button here, and I can just add in line items. So line item 1, then we add a second line item, and then again it's just rolling that number up to the total line. And then the last thing I was trying to show you was you can enter in comments on each number. So clicking on that little triangle there allows me to add any comments against the data I want. So once I bring that back into Excel, you can see it kind of highlights it yellow. It'll also square it off, letting me know there are comments in that line. So that's kind of where we left off when you were not seeing my screen. So this is again just showing you the flexibility of the different input forms. So then again, storing that data right back to the budget table. It also creates those line item details with the comments as well. So if I go back out, you've seen the two kind of input forms. Let's look at the reporting side of things now. So now that I've created my budgets, now I can look at the report of my budget consolidations. So here I'm actually selecting all the departments to look at, and now I can expand out, and you can see I've got a summary tab that shows me all 3 departments on one tab. So I'm getting that consolidated view of all the budgeting data, but then I'm also getting a separate view on each tab. So there's my administration department. I can see exactly where their numbers look like, production, and sales. So you can create a consolidated and then a separate tab for each of the departments. Now, you can also drill down. So if there's underlying details like line item details on a particular number, you've got the capability of drilling down. Now this is also applies to live reporting. We're doing the budget at this point, but I'll show you some live reports as well. So here, again, you can also share this out, and whether that's going to be downloading it, sending it as an email, you've got a little flexibility, QR code, so some other options there. But if I download this file, let's download this file, and let's open it up in Excel. Just to show you the integrity of the file is really all Excel. So here I'm in Excel. I'm going to go open up that file that I just downloaded. So I download it to my desktop. And now I'm opening it, and it looks exactly the same, right, as it did in the portal. So just showing you, and it keeps all the formulas and it keeps the integrity of the file. So you can kind of play around the numbers. You can see it's actually putting in or adjusting the numbers as well. So you can see it maintains all the formulas, and it's just a static version of that report up in the portal. But again, you can see it also gave me those separate tabs. So it's exactly the same. So let's look at the other report here. We've got another consolidation report. So this is showing you saw the previous report had the tabs for each department, right? Well, here this one is showing you that we're showing the departments at the very top. So we're actually getting a different view for, say, like a consolidated view, but we're getting a different view by seeing the numbers side by side, right? We're looking at each department against each other. We can kind of see, who's spending the most on their budgets, where the data is going, and that gives you a different view. So you can build, unlimited type of reports against your live or budget data. So the last thing is, of course, the dashboard. So now that you've got all your budget data in there, you've got your actual data in there, you could build any kind of dashboard you want. So this is, again, our budget analysis dashboard. So here's my expense budget by department, so those 3 departments, right? Now I can drill down and look at the underlying accounts and where they're spending the most of their money. So obviously commission and wages is where we're spending our money, right, for that particular department. I click on administration. They're kind of the same way, and so on. So you can drill down to the underlying data, and you're really flexible as to what data you want to drill into. But these little, what we call dashlets, are kind of created independently. And if there's related data, obviously you're going to build them to put on one dashboard. But they're reusable, so you can use these little dashlets, per se, on multiple dashboards. And you can see you can have any kind of view. You've got kind of a bar chart, you've got a pie chart, you've got a line chart. We're kind of showing you the flexibility of the different charting you can do. And then you can also see, you can get a list. Like you could even drive your data by the list as well, but this is just showing you this list account analysis, and you can export this right into Excel for further analysis, and you can kind of go through the pages there. So just showing you all the options that you can build these dashboards against, again, and the parameters in which you want to run the dashboards as well. So a lot of flexibility to showing your data. So with the live ERP budget package for NAV, this is what you get. You get the 2 budget input forms, you get the 2 budget reports, and then you get that budget dashboard. So that comes with the package, and that's why the implementation is very fast. You get this all-encompassing product in one package. It's really nice. So, but when we think about what we can do beyond this little package, right, is you've got the live reporting, not only for budget, but for your actual data, right? So you want to build a P&L. You want to build a balance sheet. You want to drill down to your data. That's all possible with the same solution. This is just showing you more reports in a different portal. We're showing the package in one portal for the NAV. But again, this is the same concept, drilling down to the actual details, downloading it, getting that static version, creating, dashboards based on your actuals as well. So get that live reporting, whether it's your, financial data, whether it's your project data. I always say it doesn't have to be financial in nature. It can be any data that you have in your system. So again, just showing you again some of the flexibility of the different dashboards, how you're driving the analysis by this list. This is just kind of showing you that example. Maybe you're building a revenue dashboard. Again, you got different dashlets up here, how many you want to create. So, drilling down, to the quarters by revenue, by business units, very flexible, and again, to what you exactly want to see. So I just wanted to expand that, not to, so you get the package deal, but beyond the package is really what you can do with the product. All kinds of dashboards, all kinds of reports, and of course, all kinds of input forms based on the GL data. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what the report designer looks like. So here I am in Excel. We're going to have 2 additional menus available to us. We've got the BI360 reporting and the BI360 planning. Like I mentioned previously in the PowerPoint, everything starts here in the reporting side of things and only extends to the planning. So here we've got 2 options. We can create a new current. So if you have a template, maybe you already have a different system reporting, whether it's MR or FRX or anything like that, you can create that by that and then just override it with the BI360 tool, or create a brand new report. So let's take a look at that. So once I create or select new blank, it's going to ask me to connect to my data source. So we're going to connect directly to the NAV ERP. So there you just select the connection to your ERP, and now I'm going to have access to all the data that lives inside of it. Now we have 2 types of users, right? We have that user that kind of consumes the product, and then you're going to have a power user who kind of creates these templates. So here you select the data connection and then the company. So if you have multiple companies, you can just select the company you want to report off of. But the nice thing is we have an additional module that allows you to consolidate some of that multi-company into one module. We call that the multi-company module, but it's the global company reporting module. That will consolidate your data across all your companies at the general ledger level. So that's giving you some flexibility as well. So if you want to report off, a consolidated type reporting, you've got that flexibility. So again, as I mentioned, the power users are the ones going to come in here and they're going to be able to see all the modules that live in your system. And then you've got the Run tab for those end users. So you've got a lot of flexibility as to who controls and who sees what. So once I have connected, you can see that here's all my different modules: financial, sales, purchasing, warehouse, manufacturing, my global reporting. And then it's just a matter of drilling into the tables, right? We've done all that conversion for you. You can kind of hover over and actually see the table names that are in your system. But we've converted all those to business use terms. So you can actually understand your data as you are writing your reports. So now I can just drill down into the GL entry here. We'll do a quick little trial balance to kind of show you the functionality of the solution. And so here again, I've got my account. I can, drill down to the dimensions and attributes, and then it's just a matter of dragging it right onto the cell in Excel. Once I do that, it asks me whether I want to expand down the row or across the column. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand down the row. Once I select that, it puts this in this layout editor. So you can see I'm on row 7. I've got all my accounts, and I can even look up my accounts here and see them here. This is where you can decide exactly what you want to show up on that row. So for instance, if I'm building a profit and loss statement or a balance sheet, I only want to see my expenses, my liabilities, then you're just selecting those accounts. You can select any kind of combination you want. You can select a range, and then you can edit that range, right? To say, I want all my accounts between, $10,000 and $20,000, and then any accounts that get added into your system are automatically going to become a part of this report. So there's no hard coding of these counts. It's all dynamic, and you build in the rules to make sure that that happens. So you've got a lot of flexibility as to, how you build those rules. So here's all the different SQL functions. So I can say in these accounts, or I could say begins with 4 or contains, and then you can get very creative, and then of course you can build on that as well. So if you want to say and or not, you've got a lot of flexibility when you're building these reports as to what you want to show on that particular row. So we'll go ahead and we'll show everything just to give you an idea. So what else do I want to put on that row? Account name and some measurements here. So we're drilled down here, look at the amounts, pull in the amount. So now, again, we're just in Excel, so we're just going to format it however you want. You've got, you know, whatever flexibility you want to build this and how this looks. So we'll highlight it, make it look pretty, bold it, and then, of course, we want to put a header on it. Maybe we make that bigger, bold it. So all I've done is dragged and dropped, right? So the last thing you want to do is basically build the parameters to run this report by. As you saw in the portal, that's where you build the parameters to let your users kind of run and slice and dice the report any way they want. So of course we want to be able to select that as well. So we want maybe, of course, our period. So in our layout editor, we've got sheet filters. So we're just going to drag the period over to the sheet filter. Maybe we have another attribute we want to run this by, maybe department, right? So now all I've done was grab those two parameters. Now I can also put those parameters right on to the report. So if I drill to my reports here, and I just drag them right onto the report, so I know exactly what this report is being run by. Then, of course, I want to total up my amount. So if I right-click, we know that's at a dynamic row, so we're going to sum that D7 up and then format it any way you want, right? So now if I go to the Run tab, you can see those are my parameters. I click the period in which I want to run this report by, the department or departments, as you previously saw, and I run this report. And it just pulls in the data automatically, right? Now, you previously saw in some of my reports that we had a sheet per department, right? So we've got that flexibility here as well. So if I edit that departmental global parameter, here's all the different form styles you can choose from. So whether it's a drop-down checklist, then you've got default values. You can do lookup filters. If I wanted to filter out particular departments for this report, I could do that. Or I just create that sheet per filter, allow for multi-selection, right? So if I edit that and I come over and I run this report again, let's go ahead and select all departments. I run this report. Now you can see it created a separate tab for each department, right? Now the other thing you can do, which I think is pretty cool, is we've got the dynamic row, right? But now let's create a dynamic column. We're going to do maybe a last year versus this year kind of column. So if I just take this period and I drag it on top of my column here, again, I'm going to create a selection group on my column, puts it in row D. Then what I can do is we've got these pre-built period functions in the tool. This is pretty cool. So you can see I've got this period this year, last year, I've got year-to-date, last year-to-date. I got first periods, I've got quarters, I've got rolling months. So all I have to do on column D is drag over year-to-date, right? And then I can actually even copy column D to E, takes all my parameters and matches it, right? But now I want to change E to last year-to-date. So now on D, I have this year-to-date, our year-to-date, and then last year-to-date. Now if I wanted to, and I will of course, maybe I create a little variance column to compare year over year, right? So I'm just going to take Excel functionality by taking this amount minus last year minus this year. I'm going to copy that down. So again, all Excel functionality there. So now if I run this report, I'm going to run it for 1002. It's going to expand my columns across, right? Don't have a lot of data in October, but you can see it expanded out the 2 periods for October, the 2 periods for September, and actually calculated out my variance there. And it did it for each department, right? So now that's how easy it is to really create a report. If I wanted to go and back to my modules here, maybe I want to do some global company reporting. I can drill down again into my company name. Maybe I make that a parameter, right? We're not limited to stay in the same module. So now I can go ahead and I can edit that. Do I want to create a consolidation or maybe a sheet per company, right? So again, I can go in, create that sheet per value. Maybe I want to consolidate the department, so I'm going to take that off the department, right? And now if I run this report, again, selecting the 3 companies, I'm going to get the consolidated view for all departments per company, right? So a lot of flexibility in how you build these reports. Now, you can publish these reports similar to what you saw in the portal where I downloaded the report directly into Excel. This is the same concept, right? You still have this capability of drilling down as you do in the portal. So if I right-click, I got the drill down capability as well. So again, looking at my data here. And I also want you to keep in mind, this is a lot of columns, right, for your drill downs. You can customize these drill downs. So whether, you only see 5 columns or 6 columns, or maybe you're going across your GL counts. Maybe going down to your subledger, you want to do a cross drill down. You can create custom drill downs as well. So a lot of flexibility again. So if you wanted to get a static version of this, you would just hit the Publish button here. And it's just, again, going to give you the same static report built off those parameters in which I ran that report. So same concept as downloading the report, right? Now with the live ERP budgeting package, what you're going to do is you're going to push this report directly up to the portal. And it's just a button. You just hit Upload Report. It looks and feels exactly as it does here in Excel. Builds the parameters for you, just as you selected in how you designed your report. And that's it. And it just pushes it up there. Now when you extend to the planning side of things, it's very simple in the sense that what you're doing is you're selecting basically what field, what variable field you're going to write data back to, and that extends to the planning side of things. It's very simple to create. So if you wanted to publish these, out in the portal and every user, or we have another tool if you want to publish some static reports out, which is our publisher tool. This allows you to automate publishing those reports, right? So if we think about, maybe we send reports out on a weekly basis for each of the different departments. What we can do is we can set up what we call a subscription. This allows you to set up an automated subscription. So here's my subscription called Demo. And in my parameters here for my publisher, I've got a report. I can add as many reports as I want. So if I want multiple reports, I can add even an entire folder. So if I look at how this is set up, so I select the templated report. The connection is going to be, of course, your NAV ERP system, then the parameters. So if you're building, different subscriptions for different departments, maybe I select each department for each subscription, right? So maybe admin versus production versus sales, and then you build 3 subscriptions, and then you can decide how you want to distribute that. So whether that's going to be another Excel workbook, maybe it's a PDF, you don't want them to be able to kind of play around with numbers, or maybe it's an image. And then what output format do you want to send it? Is it going to be via email? Is it to an internet site? Is it to a printer? So you've got a lot of flexibility there as well. And then, of course, just choosing the subscribers from your Active Directory that are not maybe part of a user that can log into the portal. They're just people who see reports on a quarterly or monthly basis. Then you set up the timeline. So send it out once a week, daily, monthly, however often you want to send it. Of course, you can run it at any time, but you can set up that schedule. So once you set up that schedule, That report is going to get sent out every week with those parameters to those people, and then you've got nothing left to do because it's pulling the data directly from the ERP system, and they're getting the newest and greatest and latest data every week, or however often you want to send that out. So again, showing you some other little additional options that you can do with the system. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is, because we have a little extra time here, is our ad hoc tool. This is called our Composer tool. This is a nice little ad hoc tool. So when we talk about, separating ourselves from IT and being able to get to our data, maybe we don't necessarily want to create a report right now, but we just want to be able to look at our data, right? We want to be able to access that data, look at it, play around with it, and then maybe build a report from it later. But this is a nice little ad hoc tool that allows you to do that. So again, I'm connecting directly to my ERP system for whatever company I want to, right? And if you have that multi-company module, of course, you'll be able to see the general ledger level details across all companies. So again, it looks very similar as it does into the report designer, right? Very similar. So again, the concept is the same. We've got all the modules, but now it's really just a matter of, okay, I want to look for some data here. We'll just pull in kind of some similar data so you can kind of see the same concept here. So again, just pulling in data, refreshing it, and then just looking at it any way I want. So again, I could build in, I could go back over here, pull in that company name, right? So company name, refresh that. Then I can drag it up here and group it, right? So I got Canada, Mexico, US, right? So you got a lot of flexibility. I can even total things up. So it's kind of a nice little, again, ad hoc tool, totaling things up by company there. You can add as many columns as you want, look for data. Now you can also do parameters, right, when we talk about how you build parameters. And it's actually kind of a nice stepping tool for kind of figuring out how to build reports somewhat, right? So I could pull in period, department, again, same concept as you saw before. And then you can save this view out, right? So you can come back and see it later. You can also export it to Excel, export it as a PDF, and export it to the report designer. This is my favorite feature. So it basically lets you, export it right to the report designer. So if you say, okay, well, you know what, I think I want to create a report out of this. So it kind of goes through the parameters that you threw up there, and it just opens that up right into Excel. So you're going to save it as a workbook or worksheet, doesn't matter. And then it says successfully exported. And then it brings it right into Excel, and it builds the report for you, right? So it did a little grouping for me, right? So you can do groupings. So again, you've got Canada, and then of course you can use Excel functionality by grouping things and hiding and showing with a plus and minus sign. So build the parameter right there for you as well. So this is a nice little ad hoc tool. I just wanted to show it to you just so you get an idea that there are a couple other options out there. So let's go back and let's summarize, the modules that we talked about today. So we've got the reporting. Everything starts with reporting. That's where you design the templates in Excel and then you publish them up to the web. Got that real-time connection with your NAV ERP as well as your budget tables, right? So that budgeting is automating that process for you, saving the data back. There's no dumping data in Excel, bringing it back into your system. It's directly writing data back to the budget tables. That's a nice little feature there. Then we talked about the dashboard, building those dashboards, and that can come, again, coming that live data from your ERP system. So you got that visual, graphical representation of your data. You can kind of see the performance as things change. Now, we mentioned the data warehouse a little bit. This is going to expand beyond the package, the live ERP package, if you want to grow into that down the road, where you're bringing in disparate data and you're doing all kinds of different things with the warehouse. Then, of course, the portal. That's where you're logging in, user-based, based on who can see what, building those one templates per user, per user set. So again, the reporting is that Excel web and mobile access, so that live reporting can be accessed through a mobile app that we have for both Android and Apple. Then you've got, the ability to consolidate, do those groupings with a multi-company module. You've got the drill to details and the subledger, right, from your ERP system. Then you've got that drag and drop report design. That was kind of fun and easy, right? Then I showed you the publisher tool where you can automatically schedule those and email those out. We talked about the budgeting. Now the live ERP budgeting goes directly back to that budget table in NAV. We've got those two pre-built input forms that we create for you. Now if you want to go beyond budgeting, beyond the GL, then you're talking about the warehouse. I mean, talk about payroll or CapEx or anything like that. So you can do any kind of cash flow planning, modeling, what if, whatever you want to build into your system. Then of course you've got that data being written directly back and it's immediately available. And then of course we talked about the approval workflow and notification. Then, of course, we talked about the dashboard, again, being able to have those interactive charts, the drill downs. Now, the concept for building these are the same as you kind of saw with the Excel. It's a drag and drop functionality. And then, of course, you're running that against your real time on your ERP system. So let's open it up to any questions that anybody might have.
At this point, Michelle, we do not have any questions.
Okay. Did you want to give it a minute or two, or?
Well, if anybody has questions, they can go ahead and type them into that question box. And while you're thinking, I'll just remind you that we did record this webinar, so it will be up on our website by this afternoon. The website, of course, is innovia.com. And Michelle, looks like no questions today. You must have done such a good job that everybody got everything the first time.
I'm glad. No problem.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much, and I want to thank all of our attendees today, and we look forward to seeing everybody on our next webinar.
Great. Thank you very much.